Hello, this is Fear Dragon coming at you with another StarCraft 2 netcast. Today we have a Zerg versus Terran from the Dreamhack Valencia 2012 semifinals. Let's give it up for these two players who are going to be playing to see who's going to advance on to the finals. Let's go ahead and introduce who they are. Spawning up here in the middle left-hand side of Metropolis, we have the red Zerg player representing Team Norway and Team Mindfreak. It is going to be MindfreakTargA. He recently, just in the quarterfinals, took out LiquidTaeja. And we're going to see if he can take out his opponent. Spawning over here in the right-hand side of Metropolis is the blue Terran. It is going to be also representing Team Liquid. It is going to be LiquidTaeja's teammate. His name is LiquidTaeja, the Korean Terran. And he is going to be out for blood. He needs revenge for his teammate Hero, as his teammate was knocked out by his opponent. He needs to figure out a way to take out his opponent so he can advance on to the finals and bring glory to Team Liquid. And we did see some cute little talk going on between these two players, where Targa, of course, this was played in front of a very large and live audience. And Targa went ahead and said, like, audience, don't clap if I'm 6-pooling. Maybe just trying to play a little bit of mind games. I'm not sure 100% how soundproof those booths were, but I assume that they were pretty soundproof. Anyways, we do end up seeing no 6-pool going down, actually. Looks like we're actually going to be seeing a hatchery first coming out of Targa. Pretty normal looking stuff, especially on Metropolis. Well known to be one of those maps that it very easily goes to the late game on. I'm actually expecting a very late game scenario out of both of these players. And then meanwhile, kind of interesting decision from Taeja, not really deciding to do that wall off. Just going to put this barracks over here, kind of interesting. I was almost expecting him to potentially float it down and then build 2 or 3 Marines, put on a little bit of pressure on Targa, but no, we're not actually going to end up seeing that. At least it doesn't look like it initially. We do end up seeing that first Marine going to probably try and deal with this pesky little drone over here, as Taeja just wants to plant down the command center. There it goes down. So both these players are playing that good old macro style opening. Targa with the hatchery first, and of course Taeja with the command center after barracks. Now, another note is, of course, it's very difficult to go for that early command center if you decide to grab those gas geysers, but it's going to be very important to see when exactly Taeja decides to grab those gas geysers. That's going to be very indicative of what kind of build he's going to be going for. Now, in the meanwhile, at the same time, you have to remember that Targa also skipping those gas geysers for a little bit, so that is going to mean there's not going to be any kind of really big early Zergling speed coming out of Targa. That's going to make it a little bit more difficult for him to maintain any kind of map control if Taeja ever decides to move out with a couple of these Marines. But Taeja's most likely just going to stick around at home for the meanwhile. And I'm really curious to see what I'm really curious what Taeja was saying for. I guess he must have realized something. I'm not really too sure what he realized. Maybe just saying like, oh, you're over here, I guess. Oh, did he almost scout over to the other expansion? That's actually entirely possible. That'd be kind of funny. But anyways, we do end up seeing pretty normal looking stuff. Now that these two players are really doing anything that would really deviate outside of the norm, we do see a third command center going down for Taeja. So actually this is kind of interesting. Potentially a bit of a greedy play from Taeja, knowing that his opponent basically has gone for this expansion and whatnot, but actually has no indication, of course, that there is a third expansion down, or, you know, whether or not there were actually any gas geysers taken. You know, Taeja's a little bit in the dark about all that, so he's kind of taking a bit of a risk going for this third command center so fast, even before the factory. And you know, based on the fact that he grabbed both of these gas geysers around a little bit ago, I wouldn't be too surprised to see, yes, there it is, a reactor along with that factory. Going to be reactor Hellions, of course. What else? And we do see 2 Zerglings poking their way in. Of course, they are without speed, so if the Marines actually come in, they're going to be able to trap those Zerglings, I believe. But we do see, oh my god, 2 SCVs going down to these 2 Zerglings. Very much worth their weight in gold, considering all the scouting they are getting, making sure that that expansion was in fact down without having to sacrifice this here Overlord, as well as getting 2 SUV pills. Oh man, that's definitely worth it for those 2 Zerglings that cost 25 minerals each. And, you know, Targa is going to feel a little bit more comfortable about what he scouted, also seeing what that Marine count was like. But, of course, he should, because of that, know that, hey, you know, that Marine count was a little bit low, so either my opponent is pooling some of his Marines in his base, or more likely he's going for some kind of reactor Hellion build. Now we do end up seeing actually quite a few of these queens, creating a nice little cute wall off, and there we even see 2 evolution chambers being thrown down, clearly knowing his timings and realizing, hey, my opponent should have had more Marines in there if he was going for some kind of biocentric force, and that must mean he's going for Hellions, presumably. So why not be prepared, throw down these 2 evolution chambers in a place that it would make sense, and then get that nice little wall off. And meanwhile, we also see that 3rd going down, so he needs to catch up a little bit economically, as we do see the 3rd of Taeja actually going down and potentially floating over to that 3rd. We do see the Hellions kind of poking around in over here, as well as actually those Marines, so he can actually be able to pick off 1 or 2 of these queens, and we do see the Hellions doing a good job denying that creep spread, even doing a good job keeping that Hellion alive, but the Hellion is very low on health, and he can actually be taken out if this queen decides to turn around. No, queen's going to try and stay alive, needs to get that transfusion down, and it's really great transfusion, and both of the Hellions end up falling, but at the same time, one of the queens ends up falling. It's actually not going to be the biggest deal in the world for Targa, though. As you know, he had so many queens. He had 5 or 6 queens, and now, you know, he still has 4 or 5 queens left. So I mean, what's that really gonna mean? Taeja ends up losing 2 of those Hellions, as well as a couple of those Marines. Now he doesn't manage to pick off a couple of those victims, but now with all these Zerglings coming out, that means that Targa, with that Zergling speed and with all of those Marines and Hellions cleaned up, is going to have a good bit of map control for at least a little bit. Now we do end up seeing... What did we just end up seeing? Was the rocks being attacked? Something was being attacked, but of course in the meanwhile we do know that the Banshee for LiquidTaeja is coming out, and he's making his way over to the 3rd. He's going to see how much damage he can do, but unfortunately for Taeja there are no drones there just quite yet, and in the meanwhile he's also going to try and do a little bit of poking and prodding with these Hellions. Now this Banshee is going to go ahead and try and go after that queen, but the queen, very smart, just going to go ahead and pull back. He knows that if as long as he can get some backup from his good buddy, he will be a-okay. We do see the Zerglings trying to come in, trying to get us around on those Hellions, but not quite working out in their favor. End up taking up quite a bit of damage, as a lot of them turned into the yellow, turned into the red, and these Hellions are going to feel pretty comfortable. In the meanwhile, we do see the 3rd for Taeja getting established, but of course there is this Overlord over here, and of course because you can see that little mining area, and of course I guess that SCV right there, you should know that that 3rd is up and operational. And behind all this, Taeja doing that transition into that biocentric style of play, adding on all those bears, adding on the reactors, and we're also even going to see another factory likely to be starting producing some of those siege tanks. Oh, but we actually have Mutalisk out for Targa, as we can even see in the production tab, a couple more Mutalisks on the way, and of course at the same time, Taeja, with that additional factory production, should also be prepared for some kind of Mutalisk transition, as he will have that armory up in just a little bit, and once that armory is out, he can actually start producing some Thors, but we can actually just see some, you know, continuously rally or continuously queued siege tanks on the way, and in the meanwhile, these Mutalisks are going to be very scary. Now Taeja should know about it. He's lost a couple of units to those Mutalisks, but we don't actually see any missile turrets out. Looks like it's just going to depend on this small group of 5 Marines. I'm not sure if that's going to be enough, actually. And we do see that stim is, of course, done for these Marines, but oh man, he's going to have to wait until a couple more production cycles are out, as we do see a couple more additional Marines popping out, and that's definitely going to be actually enough to deal with these Mutalisks for now, and at least buy some time for him. Meanwhile, we do see one upgrades completed for those Marines. Meanwhile, no upgrades completed just quite yet for those Mutalisks, and even though +1 flyer is on its way and +2 careful is on its way, you know, Targa is not really focusing on those air upgrades just quite yet. We do see the Hellions doing a good bit of damage and doing a little bit of poking, maybe trying to deny some creep spread as well, but not really able to do a whole lot. When these Mutalisks are on the field, they can just easily go after all those Hellions from the air without a care in the world. We do see it behind all of this, Targa going for that 4th expansion, continuing to drone up just a little bit. We don't actually see hive tech on the way or anything of the sort. No infestation pit down either, I believe. So really good to see when exactly Targa is going to go ahead and enact this build and put on a big amount of pressure. As even though we do see that 4th and going down, and that's going to give him a little bit better of an economy, of course. you know, he has to make some kind of move if he's not going to be going for that Hive Tech, as Taeja is going to get that very, very scary army composition. Going to get all of those upgrades for both his siege tanks, his +1 vehicle weapons is about to finish up, as well as +2 infantry weapons on the way, and actually we even see a drop coming out from Taeja. You know, TargA has to be very careful now. TargA does have a very nice spread of overlords, as we can see as this dropship moves out of the way. We're going to wait and see as these units actually coming in, trying to do a little bit of harassment, but we should see the dropship just barely glancing the vision of that overlord. Now, you know, if TargA was paying attention, he should know about that drop, and we do actually see the Mutos moving in that general direction. Now he should definitely... TargA, come on, TargA. No, TargA does not realize the drop is on the way, and now, only now, he's actually realizing that there is a Marine over there, but now he should know he is going to pull back these Mutos and presumably try and deal with this drop over here. The Mutos are pulling back all of the units of TargA, streaming into the main as this drop tries to do as much damage as possible. I don't think a whole lot of damage is going to be done with this drop, actually. But, you know, the nice thing for LiquidTaeja, and probably the main thing that he wanted to do with that drop, is pull those Mutos back so he can move out with his army. And now look at this. He's going to be able to clear up a ton of this creep and siege up these siege tanks. Actually going to go ahead and unsiege them, as I think he did go out a little bit too far onto creep, as he has to be a little bit careful. Doesn't want to go onto that creep before it recedes, as that could end up spelling doom and disaster if all of these banelings get too close to his army and Taeja gets caught off guard. Now we do end up seeing that a lot of these Zerglings kind of moving their way around the map, and both these players just kind of really dancing around, trading positions and trying to pull each other out of position, looking for weaknesses, but none of them really finding any really big ones. TargA not really able to do a whole lot of damage with that harassment of the Mules, and Taeja not really able to do any kind of big drop harassment. We can even see over here that, you know, a couple of workers killed, but not really a whole lot. We do end up seeing a couple of Marines making their way out, seeing where the army position of TargA is, and, you know, kind of getting decimated by those Zerglings, not really able to do a whole lot. But now we even see TargA actually massing up a lot of Banelings. Oh my god, we can see over here in the unit counting station, 58 Banelings made already and 109 Zerglings. Oh my god. I think that TargA is about to go in. He's trying to do a little bit of damage. He manages to actually get 1 or 2 siege tanks over there with those Mules. And here we go. Here we see TargA moving in. We're going to see how much damage he can do. The Zerglings are coming in and the Banelings are coming in from both sides. And LiquidTaeja is spread out very well, but is it going to be well enough? The Zerglings are coming in and the Banelings are actually making a lot of contact with those siege tanks rather than the Marines. And I'm not sure if they're going to be enough of Banelings to deal with it, but it doesn't look like it's going to matter, as there are enough Mutilas to clean up the rest of the forces of LiquidTaeja. And LiquidTaeja is going to be in so much trouble. The Zerglings raping apart all the SCVs at that 3rd expansion. The Mules even trying to get in over that 4th, but there are a couple of missile turrets over there. He has to be very careful. He does not want to lose these Mules, as we both see both of these players trying to remax those armies, but TargA really, oh my god, that is actually a very scary remax of those Zerglings. You have to remember that he has been upgrading these Zerglings all game long. 2-2 is already completed and 3-3 on the way. Oh my god, we actually even see the Adrenal Glands upgrade, which is going to be very helpful, as it looks like Hive has been completed for TargA. He can eventually transition into potentially these Ultras. I don't actually see any Ultras Cavern going down right now, so it's potentially going to be what the 3rd wave of attack is going to be. And in the meanwhile, we see the Zerglings streaming in once again. This is round 2, and LiquidTaeja, oh my god, these siege tanks are getting an amazing shots off on all of those Zerglings, but I'm not sure, is it going to be enough? These Zerglings are going to start going into the SCV line of the natural expansion, and the Mules are going to try and do a little bit of damage, but no, the Mules are forced to retreat, and the Marines with their stim up are going to be able to clean up all these Zerglings. Oh my god. That was a very, very clutch wall off with those siege tanks over here right at that supply depot, and getting those splash damage shots off with those siege tanks basically saved Taeja's butt in this game, as he was going to have a massive amount of trouble with all those Zerglings potentially streaming in to his main expansion, or main, and being able to get on top of those production facilities. That would have spelled disaster for Taeja, but getting that key critical wall off with those siege tanks and being able to eliminate so many of those Zerglings really saved him. And now LiquidTaeja is barreling down the map, and TargA, you know, he has a great army, but, you know, honestly, right now his army composition is basically just those Mules and a couple of Zerglings. We see 14 more Zerglings on the way, but the Ultras are going to be the real key factor in this next engagement, as we do know that Mules and Zerglings are, oh, you don't want to be losing those Mules. Oh, he wants to keep those mules alive to try and delay this push a little bit longer until he can get out additional ultras. So you can see the chitinous plating is only just now starting a little bit ago. And honestly, TaeJa is going to be in this game just to buy time right now. He needs to delay TaeJa from moving out with this very scary army. We even see 3 Thors with 2 mixed into this. And they're going to be doing an insane amount of damage against these ultras. But we see the Zerglings and the ultras and a couple of infestors making their way in. And we see some pretty decent fungal growth, but just not enough. And TaeJa is going to be forced to pull back for now. Even though LiquidTaeja is sieged up on that creep, he still has to be very careful. TaeJa has to be very careful about engaging, as he cannot afford to throw away a lot of his units. We can see how low his bank is now after trying to remax 2 or 3 times, and then meanwhile TaeJa's just got the better end of that big second engagement. We even see a drop going down for TaeJa. He's going to delay TaeJa from actually being able to throw up this expansion. TaeJa's going to have to somehow deal with this, but it looks like he doesn't want to pull his units out of position even to deal with this drop, as he just needs to have them in ready position to stop TaeJa from moving in over to that 4th expansion. Meanwhile, look at this. TaeJa already has his 5th expansion already set up, rallying additional units over, and he's going to be actually reunite a lot of this army over here, and he has 4 Thors, a couple of Hellions tossed in, a ton of Marines, and a pretty healthy number of Medivacs. This is such a scary army. Even has a couple of Marauders mixed in to deal with those ultras. And we do see a drop going down once again from TaeJa, but this is going to get cleaned up as, oh, actually good control from TaeJa, keeping an eye out on those drops, being able to pick up without taking a whole lot of damage down. Again, TaeJa has done a pretty decent job fending off against all these drops. Oh my god, this drop really wants to happen. He's just actually going to go in. These Zerglings, oh my god. Oh god, hold on guys. We're going to back up for 10 seconds because the V button is right next to the B button. But anyways, we do see that this drop is going to go ahead and come straight back over these Zerglings. And these Zerglings clearly have vision of this drop and just don't care, I guess. I guess that TaeJa is a little bit preoccupied with all the engagements and this movement going on around over here. But these Zerglings are finally once again going to clear off. And oh my god, all these Zerglings on hold position. These Marines are actually going to do a huge amount of damage, but we do see TaeJa starting to make his way over into the creep spread of TaeJa once again. There are quite a few ultras, but they're going to be funneling through a choke, and oh my god, he has to keep these ultras alive. He does not want to be squandering them. And you see a little bit of trade going on, but look at this. Every single time that TaeJa loses some units, he's instantly remaxing just because his production facilities are building them. But we do see 2 Broodlords on the way that could definitely help out in this big engagement. But there aren't actually that many siege checks. I'm not sure how effective the Broodlords are going to be. They're going to be able to slow down TaeJa's army and his Thors and Marines from being able to get too close to the rest of his army, but still, I guess that TaeJa does not have a lot of Vikings, but oh my god, did this drop actually clean up all those Zerglings? This drop is actually doing a massive amount of damage, and now TaeJa is responding a little bit late, but he's actually going to end up losing his 5th hatchery, and oh my god, that's actually going to be a huge economic blow for TaeJa, as he actually ended up losing this expansion as well. He is down to 3 bases, only one of them barely mining, and TaeJa is all in at this point. He's only at 170 supply though, and he cannot afford to even lose these units. Oh no, TaeJa is sitting on those 3/3 upgrades, has that chitinous plating on and also building up some energy on a couple of those infestors, and even has a couple of Broodlords out. But this just is not the death ball army that he wants exactly. Just because he can't reinforce it, he also is still down about 24-20 supply, and he still is going to be up against a 200 well spread out, well built supply or army of LiquidTaeja. LiquidTaeja not slacking in those upgrades either, up to 3/3. Now we see LiquidTaeja moving out. He wants to engage this army. He wants to remax. And now we see that TaeJa actually going in. He's actually going to be able to catch a couple of TaeJa's units out a little bit out of position, as TaeJa getting a little bit overzealous. And now we do see a great positioning of these Vikings from TaeJa. He's going to be able to deal with those Broodlords without any big issues, without with the exception of that fungal growth. And TaeJa has to be very careful about this. He cannot very easily remake these Broodlords. He has to keep them alive. And oh my god, losing so many of those Zerglings and that Ultralisk from those tank fires, and oh my god, TaeJa is in a world of hurt. We even see this drop is still going on, and oh my god, he's going to be doing additional damage to the buildings and the 3rd of TaeJa, as if it wasn't enough of how much damage he's already taken. Now we do see a couple of Zerglings that be able to make their way over into the 4th expansion, or sorry, the 5th expansion. I mean, does it really matter? Look at TaeJa's bank. He's sitting on 3k, 2k, and not really showing any signs of having any issues. There's a great fungal growth going down though from TaeJa being landed. One more able to pick up quite a few units from TaeJa, and it looks like that's going to key him in. He's going to go in for the Zergling streaming in. The Ultralisk taking out the tanks, and now the Infestor's following in. Now it's going to be very close, but again, TaeJa is going to be remaxing on this army. We already see a lot of units in production. Now, even though TaeJa's army looks like it's actually about to get cleaned up, and TaeJa comes out ahead in that engagement, I'm not sure if it's going to be enough, as TaeJa has to basically end the game with this army. Now he's going to go ahead and move into the third, start taking out a couple of those SCVs, and maybe try and come back somehow economically a little bit, but I don't think that's going to be the right decision. He needs to find a way to take out this little army and then get right on top of the production facilities inside of the main base. We do actually end up seeing the drop finally cleaned up, and in the meanwhile we do see the Marines and Marauders trying to deal with these Ultras. They're getting a pretty decent engagement angle, as this factory is just creating such a great choke against all these melee units, but the Queen's also able to help. They're able to toss those transfuses down on that Ultras, so that Ultras can just get in the front and be able to do some speed damage over to the Marines and Marauders. But oh my god, look at that, some great target firing going down from TaeJa, able to take out all those Queens and push TaeJa back. TaeJa down to just 10 Zerglings in production, and that's going to mean 15 Zerglings, 1 Ultras, and 24 drones. TaeJa is looking to be in a great position to take this game. He still has his 4th, he still has his 5th expansion, although it is blocked by Burrowed Banley, and there is actually going to be the GG from TaeJa. So TaeJa looking like he wants to take revenge. He is angry. He is upset that TaeJa managed to knock out his teammate Liquid Hero. Liquid Hero and LiquidTaeja likely wanted to meet in that semifinals, be able to say, hey, you know what, may the best Team Liquid player advance on, but no, TaeJa said no. He knocks out a Liquid Hero, and now TaeJa is back for revenge, going up 1-0 in the best of 3 series. We're going to see if he can finish him off, or if TaeJa has something to say about it and is going to come back with some build orders of his own. I will see you guys in game number 2.